Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Microscope Podcast by Telescope Advisors. I am Julia Brown, the founder of Telescope Advisors, and your host here on the Microscope Podcast. Normally, I have a guest on the show with us, someone who is a business leader that shares their perspective on their area of expertise. However, today, I'm going to be taking this podcast on solo. I have apples and peanut butter here that I'm going to try not to eat during the recording of the podcast. I think maybe the crunchy sound would be a little, what's it called? ASMR for some people and like really annoying for others. Is that what it's called? ASMR? AMSR? Anyway, apples and peanut butter to the side, coffee right in front of me, and let's talk about business. Today, I want to talk about a service that Telescope Advisors offers, which is business management advisory. Sometimes leaders come to me feeling like their business is broken, but it's just that they've outgrown the way that they've led it. So today, I want to talk to the business owner who's carrying way more than they should be carrying, the leader who built something incredible, but secretly feels exhausted by the very thing they once felt excitement and joy over. Because maybe from the outside, things look successful. You've got revenue coming in, your company is growing, people respect what you've built, but internally, it can still feel really messy. Like every decision is still running through you. Like your team isn't fully aligned or the communication keeps breaking down. These are problems that I deal with owner after owner after owner. Like you're solving the same problems over and over again as you grow. And somewhere deep down, there's often this question, which is like, why does it feel so hard still? I have grown, I have overcome obstacle XYZ, but it still feels hard. So if that resonates with you today, I need you to hear this. Your business is probably not broken. It's probably in fine shape. It's probably just outgrowing the way it's being operated. And that distinction is what we're going to talk about because most organizations don't hit a ceiling because they lack opportunity. They hit a ceiling because they lack a structure to support more business. It's not boring corporate bureaucracy. I'm talking about a healthy structure with clear communication, clear priorities, clear accountability, leadership, and vision. And what I've discovered through the years of hands-on business management advisory work is simply this. The businesses that truly transform are not always with the smartest people in the room. They are the organizations that are willing to get radically honest about what's no longer working. So let's talk about radical candor. There are so many leaders walking around pretending like everything is fine while privately carrying an unbelievable amount of pressure. They're the emotional engine of the company. They're the decision maker, problem solver, the culture bearer, the visionary, the firefighter. Sometimes they're even the integrator and the operator. Eventually, they're becoming the bottleneck without even realizing it. And not because they're bad leaders, but because they've become too necessary in too many business functions. And when the business becomes dependent on one person's energy, one person's memory, or their decision-making capacity, it stops scaling in a healthy way. So listen carefully. A business should not grow because one human being sacrifices themselves endlessly. That's not sustainable leadership. That is a survival mode wearing a success costume. I have seen time and time again a founder, and I'll give you a specific example here without naming names, a founder whose personal reputation and brand has carried the company further and further year after year. And that founder could never step away from email, right? On the phone, at the President's Club trip, their kids' first communion, at you name it, at a funeral, in their email, on their phone, because they needed to answer a question about customer service, right? It's overwhelming when you are the one who can solve and the only one who can solve every problem, when you don't have systems or people in place who are able to give you cover, and when you're not built to scale. So for instance, this person that comes to mind is someone who had a great reputation, was successful in a sales capacity early on, became really, really dynamite with operations, and grew and grew and grew and grew a team. And with that team, when they would make mistakes, he would give them cover, or he would step in ahead of a mistake to prevent it. He didn't give them an opportunity to make mistakes truly and to learn from them individually. And experiential knowledge is really important for a team. You want to find ways that there can be low stakes failures that people can learn from, where they recognize that they failed and they can see what would need to happen differently in the future and how to prevent those same failures. But you don't want to solve it for them. It's just like raising kids, right? If you do everything for them, there's trained or learned incompetence here, they won't be able to progress beyond where they are when they start. And then you, as the owner, feel stressed and burnout and isolated and trapped by the business, and your family is impacted and your friendships are impacted. So one of the things that we did first going into that business management advisory relationship was to help the leader and his leadership team understand that confusion doesn't scale. A team that's not knowledgeable can't scale. A team that doesn't have the tools or technology necessary to do their job well can't scale. I'm going to say that again because somebody needs to hear it today. Can't scale confusion. You can't scale lack of knowledge. If your leadership team is not aligned, growth will magnify that. If your people don't know what the priorities are, when you grow, that will get amplified. And if accountability is inconsistent as you grow, that will only become more true. Growth, it does not solve your operational dysfunction. It exposes it. And this is where hands-on advisory changes the game. Because what most businesses need is not more motivation. They need operational clarity, a framework for how the business actually runs, rhythms, systems, communication structures, leadership accountability, execution discipline, and they need someone who is willing to step inside the business with them and help implement it consistently. This isn't just a consult. It's actually someone to help lead the transformation internally, to stamp out the dysfunction, create accountability, and execute towards goals. So what's interesting here is that oftentimes I found the healthier organizations that we partner with at Telescope Advisors are more simple, not simplistic, but simple. The leaders, the individual contributors, everybody knows where is the business going, what matters the most right now, what does success look like, who is the owner of what objectives, how do decisions get made, and how do problems get solved. And when organizations reach that level of clarity, the energy within the organization changes. Meetings go from being an opportunity for people to check their email or work on their regular workload and kind of nod and go, sounds good, let's go, to opportunities for people to really improve from a team perspective, working together more collaboratively, having a good culture, and delivering on the objectives that we set as an organization. When you execute well, when you win, that's when you'll start to see a huge shift in the dynamic of the team. People stop spinning, they stop gossiping, they stop worrying about, is my job secure? Is so-and-so going to get a promotion over me? What is my next step? They just start moving forward together, and that is magic. It's not hype, it's alignment. There is another client of mine that I began working with probably 8 to 10 months ago, and within that organization or that leadership structure, there was no defined meeting cadence between the leaders within the organization. It was a very reactive culture. Goals were either not set and they were just putting out fires, or goals were set, but there was always an excuse as to why they weren't hit. Two of the leaders in particular were really combative with one another, pointing fingers at every turn. It's this group's fault that we missed our metrics. And then the inverse, right? No, it's that group's fault that we missed our metrics. And oh, by the way, it's their own fault that they missed theirs, not ours. And what you do is you come in and you create a culture of accountability where you set up a scorecard, which is maybe 5 to 15 metrics that measure the business. And we're talking about leading indicators here, not lagging metrics like the P&L. We want to see, if we are, let's just say, a home healthcare agency, and one of the metrics we want to measure is how many appointments we book per week, and that number starts to backslide. Why is that happening? Week over week, we can catch that 1 or 2 weeks into the month, not 5 or 6 weeks after the month end. We can catch it sooner. And when we catch it sooner, we can do something about it before it's too late, before the P&L is done. So what I found is working with leadership teams across multiple industries, the strongest companies are not built by the leaders who avoid hard conversations. They're built by the leaders who are willing to face reality together. You have to operate within reality, and you have to have a team of individuals that is there showing up for you to operate within that same reality. It can sometimes be comfortable because sometimes the issue is unclear expectations or wrong priorities or a leadership misalignment, role confusion, lack of accountability, a fear of conflict, systems that are out of date or poorly managed, people being a great person that you're afraid to say goodbye to. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You care about them, but they're not in the right seat. And most businesses avoid these conversations for years. And what's interesting is you could ask anybody at the leadership table, what's the biggest problem in business today? Or who's the biggest problem in business today? Who's not in the right seat? Most of the time, the rest of the executive team is going to know. Maybe they've surfaced that information to the leader and it's fallen on deaf ears. Maybe they're afraid to say it to the leader because that person is favored. It's hard to say, but it's really funny how often you can ask these questions as an outsider and get the same answer over and over again from the group. And for whatever reason, that person, that process, that vendor, that technology is still there. So these conversations are oftentimes avoided because they're difficult or because everybody's busy. But busy and effective aren't the same thing. All of us move in a world that moves very, very fast. And so it would be easy to move more and more quickly, especially with the advent of AI. But eventually, when you go and leapfrog over these unresolved issues, they do become cultural problems and they become problems on the bottom line as well. And that's why structured leadership conversations matter so much, because when leaders feel that they are finally truly aligned, the entire organization will feel it and will act and move differently. So this is why I'm so passionate about the hands-on component of what we do, because information alone rarely changes organizations, but implementation does, behavioral change does, consistency does. Anybody can hand you a strategy deck, but very few people can help an organization operationalize change week after week after week. And that is where transformation actually happens. It's inside the repetition, inside the discipline. It's not the big sexy stuff. It's inside the willingness to stay committed after the excitement wears off. That is where momentum gets built. So, you know what most leaders tell me? It's not just more revenue that they want. It's peace, confidence, trust in their team, to stop carrying everything mentally, be able to take a second and dream about the vision of the company 10 years out and not just worry about the customer service issue that we're dealing with today. They want to know the business can operate without constant chaos. And honestly, it's possible, but it requires intentional leadership. You can't accidentally build a healthy organization. You build it on purpose and you protect it. It's one conversation at a time, one system at a time, one leadership habit at a time. So I want to speak now directly to the person listening who feels stuck. Maybe your company is at a plateau. Growth might feel heavier than you expected. Maybe your leadership team feels disconnected. Maybe you're frustrated because everybody's working hard, but they're not focused on the right things. And it's so easy for you to see where they should be focused, but it's so hard to bring them along. So please hear me clearly. That does not mean that you have failed as a leader. It probably means your business is ready for a new level of operational maturity. And candidly, that's a great thing, because once organizations commit to clarity, alignment, accountability, and disciplined execution, the trajectory changes. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen over time, and it will be a dramatic result. Sometimes all it takes is the right framework, the right facilitation, and the right implementation partner walking alongside the leadership team. At the end of the day, healthy businesses create momentum. They create energy and clarity and leadership capacity and freedom. And if your business currently feels exhausting instead of energizing, it may not be because you're doing too little. It may actually be because your organization has outgrown the way it operates. That is the work we do every single day through hands-on business management advisory at Telescope Advisors, helping businesses simplify and leaders align, helping organizations execute and teams regain momentum. Watching companies completely change the trajectory of where they're headed. Thanks for being here today. And if this episode connected with you, share it with another business owner or leader who may need this reminder. You do not need more hustle. You need a healthier way to operate. Take it one step further. If you're thinking about how to implement these practices into your business, please reach out to me. Shoot me an email at jbrown@telescope.co. That's J, brown like the color, at teloscope.co. Until next week.